From historic navigational aids rumored to harbor spirits resulting from countless shipwrecks, to marine museums whose hulls are stalked by a ghostly cat after dark. Are you ready for our second list of picks for some of the most haunted lighthouses in the United States? Number 5. Cape Disappointment Lighthouse. The Cape Disappointment Lighthouse, located on Cape Disappointment near the mouth of the Columbia River in the city of Ilwaco, Washington, is a historic lighthouse that boasts the impressive title of being the oldest functioning light in the entirety of the state. This light was first recommended in 1848 in what was then the Oregon Territory, and its construction was started by 1852. Unfortunately, the lens that was ordered was too large when it arrived, and the tower actually had to be restructured to fit it. The light was finally fully completed and lit in 1856. In addition to the tower, the facility offered a fog bell and a keeper's residence that sat about a quarter-mile away. In 1862, through the Civil War, a fort was established on site, and in 1875 it was renamed Fort Canby. The light was electrified in 1937, and the fort saw further expansions through World War II. In 1956, following the war, the fort was closed down, resulting in the Coast Guard considering the permanent closure of the station as a whole. But protests would prevent this, and the site was instead transformed into the Cape Disappointment State Park. Today, the park encompasses nearly 2,000 acres, which include the light, fort, and much, much more. The station remains active, with crew members responding to an average of 300 or 400 calls each year. Tragically, countless shipwrecks occurred throughout the region before the light's construction, and the whole site sits on a zone known as the Graveyard of the Pacific. Chillingly, the Columbia River Bar alone is estimated to have claimed more than 2,000 ships, and who knows how many associated lives. And local legends claim restless spirits are carried on surrounding waters. Many visiting the Cape Disappointment Lighthouse have reported orbs in photographs, disembodied voices throughout the area, and the constant feeling of being surrounded or watched by presences unseen. Ghostly ships are frequently sighted off the coast, many of which are seemingly stuck replaying their final moments, often wrecking and then sinking from view. And otherworldly sounds have been reported by workers stuck in the tower alone, often accompanied by disembodied footsteps and doors opening and slamming shut inexplicably. Lastly, a number of reports detail alarms sounded in the middle of the night by absolutely nothing, as well as full-bodied apparitions and shadowy silhouettes sighted roaming the coastline and station. Number 4. Fairport Marine Museum and Lighthouse. Fairport Marine Museum and Lighthouse, located on the coast of Lake Erie in the village of Fairport Harbor in Ohio, is a historic light-turn museum that was actually the first Great Lakes Lighthouse Museum in the United States. While the original light, which stood at 30 feet in height, was completed in 1825, by 1871 dangerous levels of deterioration had prompted the construction of a more modern tower in its stead, which stood at a much more impressive 60 feet. Unfortunately, by 1920, this second light had been deemed no longer adequate, and construction of the Fairport Harbor West Breakwater Light was launched. When this new tower was lighted in 1925, the old tower was officially decommissioned. Sadly, for a time, the Coast Guard considered the old light site for demolition while utilizing the keeper's home to harbor personnel, but a letter-writing campaign driven by concerned residents and local families spanning multiple generations halted these plans. In 1945, the Coast Guard officially passed ownership of the light to Fairport Harbor, and later the same year, the site was opened up to the public under the Fairport Harbor Historical Society. The Fairport Marine Museum and Lighthouse remain open to the public to this day and offer a range of exhibits on the light, its history, its former keepers, as well as information on the whole of the Great Lakes area. According to countless reports, the entirety of the property is haunted by a number of apparitions, with staff and visitors describing orbs captured in photographs, the constant feeling of being watched or followed, and unnatural cold spots, even on hot days. Possibly the most famous local legend surrounding the museum tells that a ghostly cat haunts the facility, with many, even firm skeptics, describing feeling the sensation of the phantom feline brushing up against their legs. Several have cited this sly spirit darting around corners or disappearing into rooms, but though many have tried, to date, no living cat has ever been captured, much less found. Interestingly enough, in 1889, a young boy named Robbie, who was the keeper's son, passed away on the property. It's recorded that following his death, his mother became extremely ill and kept cats for company in her final days. Sadly, after her passing, one of her cats went missing, and in 2001, its mummified remains were discovered in a crawl space. This cat's remains are preserved at the museum, and it's thought our ghostly friend just might be a result. Lastly, reported across the site are full-bodied apparitions in old-fashioned attire, disembodied voices, and the shadowy form of a child, possibly Robbie himself, that often announces its presence with the pitter-patter of small footsteps. Number 3. Barnegat Lighthouse. Referred to more frequently as Old Barney, Barnegat Lighthouse, located on the northern tip of Long Beach Island in the borough of Barnegat Light, New Jersey, is a historic light standing at a formidable 172 feet in height that boasts its reputation of being quite literally one of the tallest lighthouses in the United States. As history has it, construction of an initial tower was started in 1834, around 900 feet from the water, but within a decade it was noted that that distance had decreased to only 450 feet or so, prompting a hasty response. In 1855, one George G. Meade, a military engineer and later general of the Union Army, was assigned the task of designing a new lighthouse. His new tower was illuminated in 1859 and was located about 100 feet south of the original structure, which, might we add, is now below water. The light remained operational until 1944, when it was deactivated by the Coast Guard and passed to the state of New Jersey, and in 1948 Barnegat City was renamed to Barnegat Light. In 1957, the area was officially declared a state park, ensuring its continued preservation and public availability, and in 2008, the Friends of Barnegat Lighthouse State Park raised funds necessary to reactivate the old light. It was ceremoniously re-illuminated on January 1st of 2009. The Barnegat Lighthouse remains active and open to the public to this day, offering tours, museums, interpretive centers, and according to local legend, a range of supernatural phenomena, with those frequenting the site reporting orbs captured in photographs, disembodied voices from empty spaces, and footsteps heard up and down the tower stairs when it's completely empty. Sadly, long before the light existed, land it now sits upon once played host to the massacre at Long Beach Island, where on October 25th of 1782, while sleeping on this very beach, Patriot Andrew Steelman, along with 19 others, were slaughtered by Tory raiders led by John Bacon. Within the tower and along the coastline, many have reported the chilling disembodied sounds of moaning, screaming, and shouting, as well as the full-bodied apparitions of colonial-era soldiers and sailors wandering the beach, many seemingly searching for help. Historically, a number of shipwrecks occurred right near the light, and many visiting Barnegat have reported ghostly vessels sighted sailing the area, namely at night, that seemingly disappear into the darkness. One final legend tells that long ago, a couple perished aboard a small schooner named the Tolk, which ended up running aground at the light. Sadly, it's said they were survived by a baby girl, and legend tells that couples with babies who visit Barnegat are often stopped by the ghostly duo, who admire their child or children for a moment before fading away. Many claim these spirits are stuck forever seeking their lost daughter, while others that they're protecting those who visit the area, ensuring that no one ever again shares in their sad fate. Number 2. Whitefish Point Lighthouse. Whitefish Point Lighthouse, located in Paradise on Michigan's Upper Peninsula, is a historic lighthouse that's recognized as the oldest and by many claims one of the most significant lighthouses on Lake Superior, being that all vessels entering or leaving the lake must pass its point. Historically, construction of the original tower was first started in 1847, with the light being lit 2 years later in 1849. Unfortunately, this initial light took a severe beating from storms and was replaced with the current steel tower in 1861. The light tower is connected to a keeper's house by means of a hallway on the second floor. In 1875, an early fog signal building was added to the site to combat the thick fog banks that are all but common on Whitefish Bay, and in 1894, a second keeper's residence was constructed. The present brick fog signal building that can be viewed was designed much later in 1937. In 1968, the light was replaced with an arrow beacon, and in 1971, it was fully automated. In 1986, keeper and assistant housing buildings were fully restored and furnished, after which the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum would open within. The lighthouse remains active to this day, with the museum open to the public from May 1st to October 31st of each year, and offering tours all the while. Chillingly, Whitefish Point has picked up the moniker of being the graveyard of the Great Lakes, and is located along Lake Superior's infamous shipwreck coast. The Whitefish Point Underwater Preserve holds a number of wreck sites popular among divers, with the lake's cold temperatures acting as a natural preservative and keeping most of the wrecks looking much as they did the day they went down. Not surprisingly, the lighthouse is said to be haunted by a number of spirits, with many reporting disembodied voices, footsteps heard from empty spaces, and accounts of doors opening and closing on their own, sometimes even locking those present within rooms. A number of informal investigations have yielded surprising EVPs, exceedingly high EMF levels, orbs in photographs and video, and common electronic malfunctions. And one psychic visiting claimed to sense more than 50 spirits haunting the light and area directly surrounding. The spirit of a young native girl in traditional attire has been sighted in flashes, but usually vanishes as quickly as she first appears, and a ghostly young woman in a dress from the 1800s has been spied gazing longingly over the lake. Also reported across the property are extreme cold spots, the sensation of being brushed up against by a crowd, and the feeling of being touched or grabbed by someone or something unseen. Lastly, in 1975, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald, an American Great Lakes freighter, sank, resulting in the deaths of its entire 29-man crew. To date, it's the largest ship to have sunk near the light, and many have reported sighting its phantom silhouette gliding silently through the waters as it ferries its ghostly crew to who knows where. Number 1. The Boston Light. The Boston Light, located on Little BREWSTER Island in Boston Harbor in Massachusetts, is a historic lighthouse that boasts its reputation as being both the second oldest working light in the country, as well as for occupying the site that once held what was actually the first lighthouse constructed on land that would one day become the United States of America. As history has it, the first tower was constructed in 1716 at 60 feet in height, with the site also offering a keeper's house, barn, and wharf, and in 1719 a fog cannon was installed. Sadly, this tower was put to the test, and it took heavy damages from multiple fires and storms, with workers quickly rebuilding it each time. On July 20th of 1775, during the Revolutionary War, and in an effort to combat a British-occupied Boston, patriots set fire to the wooden portions of the tower, and when the British attempted repairs, it was burned twice more. Finally, in June of 1776, as the British were leaving Boston, they sent a lone boat with a timed charge to the light, demolishing the structure in its entirety. A new light was constructed in 1783, and through the 18th and 19th centuries, the tower underwent a slew of major renovations, modernizations, and upgrades. In 1859, the height of the tower was actually raised to 89 feet. Through World War II, the light was kept extinguished for a time, as to not reveal navigational points to potential enemies. The light was eventually relit in 1945, and in 1948 the tower was equipped with wiring and a new 1,800,000 candle power electrical light, which could be sighted for over 27 nautical miles. In 1998, the tower was automated, though it retains a keeper to this day. The Boston Light remains in use as an active navigational aid, offering guided tours of the island and light to any with an interest. Sadly, in 1718, the first lightkeeper, George Worthylake, along with his wife and daughter, drowned just offshore while returning to the island, and their restless spirits are said to remain within the home, where many report doors unlocking and locking by themselves, animals reacting to unseen presences, and apparitions in old-fashioned clothing, usually sighted hurrying into rooms or rounding corners. Disturbingly, a total of 5 lightkeepers are documented as having died on site, with one having no mention of the cause of death. And visitors often describe being overwhelmed by an ominous feeling that gives goosebumps and sends chills down one's spine, as if death is always looming. Across the site, disembodied voices are heard from empty rooms, lights flicker inexplicably, radios have been known to change stations randomly, and personal devices seem to go dead at abnormal rates. Another tale tells that around Halloween, sometime in the 1800s, a lightkeeper's wife went insane and murdered her husband in the middle of the night. This tale goes on to claim that each October, paranormal happenings on site get worse, and that her shadowy form can often be spied floating from their old bedroom towards the bathrooms, where the noises of an intense fight are heard, leading many to believe this is where the murder took place. Lastly, one old native legend tells a demon called Hobbamock inhabits the island. Disturbingly, preceding the introduction of Christianity, it was decided Hobbamock was literally the devil himself. Taking into account its ridiculously fascinating history, chilling list of purported hauntings, and ties to occult activity and even possible demonic influences, we felt there really was no better choice than the Boston Light as our pick for the most haunted lighthouse in the United States. Thank you all for tuning in to our second list of picks for some of the most haunted lighthouses in the United States. If you enjoyed hearing our histories and ghost stories as much as we enjoyed telling them to you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn notifications on so you get alerts when fresh content is on the way. Throw us a like if you feel we've earned it, and most importantly, share this upload and our channel with anyone you think deserves a good scare. We'll catch you all next time.